Yeah, can we acknowledge ourselves for showing up on the day that's pretty? So, we're either totally devoted or we're going through hell. we want out. You know, the Course in Miracles says you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not even welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you will find quite startling, it says. Then it says you are not asked to judge, analyze, evaluate the ideas at all. That if you use it, you will see that it works. If you use it, but I think I've been using it, but it's not working. You're not using it. That's what it means. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. It means you think you're using it. You really seriously intend to use it. You would like to use it, but you're not using it yet, because it always works. I've never seen it not work if we use it. But sometimes I think we underestimate the amount of resistance and programming that we have. You know, you're not going to undo a lifetime's worth of programming overnight. You know, you could, but you're like the Course in Miracles says. How did Jesus put it in the Course? He said, you know, I could correct all your errors for you, but you haven't developed your faith to the ability, to the point that you let me do it yet. So yeah, it could be overnight, but as long as you think you're the one, as long as you think you're the one that's going to do it, it's not going to be overnight. So I have to understand that I have to be more and more open to dealing with the G word, the God word. So I would invite you to right now think of whatever word you need to substitute for the word God that feels okay in your body, but please come up with one, so that when I say it, then you can substitute in your mind whatever it is you feel like you need to do to not hear a word that you know you need to learn a new way of looking at because it's bothering you so much you can't say it, which lets you know you got some God issues, which lets you know you got some beliefs from your childhood that's still blocking your connection to the source that could help you. Okay, so the mere fact, like I had serious issues for a while with the word Jesus in the Course, or the word Holy Spirit. Because of my fundamentalist Christian upbringing that was based on a lot of fear, I learned how to react to those words with a lot of resistance. Like even among most of my New Age, New Thought friends, they have no problem saying Krishna. They have no problem saying Buddha. You'll see, you know, the 8 gods, the Indian gods with 50 arms in their house, but they can't say Jesus. It's like he was a teacher too, but for some reason you can't say Jesus, you know, which I think is a shame, because Jesus was a very powerful, very loving teacher, and we kind of like prejudice. Not you if it doesn't apply to you, but if what I'm saying applies to you, it applies to you. And some of you it doesn't apply to. But I try to remember all the time that my reaction to things, it's always coming from the meaning that I'm giving it. To me, that's the most important lesson for me in A Course in Miracles. If a person just worked with lesson 2, it would change their whole life. If you just didn't do anything else in the book, and you went, everything, I give everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. You know, if we were to realize that, then we could go to the next logical step, which is the Course says that everything we see is neutral. That means it's neither good nor bad. It has no, like that very first workbook lesson, it freaks people out when they get into the workbook, because the very first lesson says nothing I see means anything. And you're supposed to look around the room, and anything your eyes light on, you're supposed to say that video recorder doesn't mean anything. The students sitting in this room don't mean anything. The carpets don't mean anything. And then you can watch the part of us that's the ego, that's the old programming. If you go, ugh, then you look around there, your little child crawling on the floor, and you're supposed to say, my child doesn't mean anything. Oh no, you know. But the truth is, your child doesn't mean anything until you give your child a meaning. Your child doesn't mean anything to anybody. They might say, oh my little God, that's a little hellion. They don't even want to see your child coming. That's the meaning they're giving your child. But to you, that's your little precious little thing in the world. And they go, oh my God, she's going to bring that little monster over. See, so everybody gives everything the meaning. And so the course is trying. So all that means is that it's trying to teach us that we need. In a sense, it's like erasing the blackboard and starting with a clean slate. Because if I can take it back to neutral, now I can start giving it meanings that give me peace and joy and happiness and love. But first I got to take the meaning out of it I've already given it, right? So today's lesson that I'm going to do is a lesson that's called I Will Step Back and Let Him Lead the Way. It's a lesson that's very much about allowing yourself to act from guidance. Anybody open to following how to do that? Okay, all right. And I'm also going to continue what I've been doing lately about giving people tips about how to read the course, because I would love for you to start to read the course on your own so that all the things that are bothering you, you can watch those things begin to truly stop taking your peace away. You know, but so to me, it's like as long as I'm not willing to do what it takes to get what as long as I'm not willing to do what it takes to get what I want, I know I don't really want what I say I want. It's just that simple. You know, I hate this about this book because it's too simple. You know, so I'm going to go through this, and I would like to try to get through the whole lesson, which is a radical concept. But I'm going to try to because there's some things in it that when you get to it is mind-boggling. And so I'm going to lose you sometime during this, but when you come back, just tune in. Is that fair enough? I'm going to lose you. Okay? You're going to go in and you're going to go out. Okay? We all know that. It's like, so when you wake up and there's something drawn on your face, don't be upset about it. You got a mustache and stuff around your eyes and stuff like that. Okay. So I will step back and let God lead the way. It's the same as saying I will step back and let the Creator lead the way. I will step back and let love lead the way, because we're talking about love and fear. Then it says there's a way of living in the world that's not here. Look there. There's a way of living in the world that's not here, even though it seems to be. Okay, so y'all ready? Now, what does that mean? Whenever you're reading the course and you're getting ready to analyze it, go, what does that mean? And then read the next sentence. What do you do when you're about to analyze something you read in the course?
Read the next one. What is that?
You go, what does that mean? And then you read the next sentence. Or you go, another way I could look at this is, and then you read the next sentence. It will cut down on your analyzation 90%. Because you just want what it means. So if you go, what does that mean? Okay, and you'll see it's written that way. There's a way of living in the world that's not here, even though it seems to be. Now, it's lesson 155 in the workbook. It's lesson 155 in the workbook. That's on page 291. I think it's 291. Yeah, 291 in the workbook. Now, what's going to happen is your forehead is serene, your eyes are quiet. In other words, you chill out. The ones who walk the world as you do recognize their own. That's true. The people who are on the same level of consciousness that you're on will recognize you. And those who have not yet perceived the way, they're going to also recognize you, and they're going to believe that you're like them, because you used to be. So the people who are really growing in spiritual awareness are going to recognize other people that are growing in spiritual awareness. People who are not quite awake yet are also going to recognize you, and they're going to think you just like them. So they're going to recognize me and say, oh, that's Earl. But they're going to think I'm just like them. So since they think I'm just like them, they're not going to give me a hard time. So you still should have peace, whether you're with people who recognize you spiritually or you're with people who have no idea that you have any spiritual awareness, unless you start talking. You're finna mess everything up. Okay? All right? Because they cool now. They chilled out with you. Now you're getting ready to start talking about what you believe, but they're not like you. They're not seeing things like you. All right? So now y'all going to have friction. Unless your ego just needs to feel like you just got to tell them what you think. Okay? Now, I'm going to say a statement that blows people's minds. It says the world is an illusion. What is an illusion? An illusion is a false idea that you think is true so much that you believe it even though it's not. So when the Course says the world is an illusion, it's talking about the world is based on false ideas. What we are seeing is false ideas. That's what we're looking at, false ideas. And he says those who come to the world are seeking a place where they can be illusions and avoid their own reality. But when they find their own reality is even here, then they step back and then let it lead the way. In other words, I came here with a lot of false ideas, but even though you came here with a lot of false ideas, you couldn't avoid finding out the truth about yourself. And when you find your own truth and your own reality is even here, then you become smart enough to step back and let the truth lead the way. If this is my truth, then I should be smart enough to step back and let the truth that I've decided is the truth lead me. If I say the Course in Miracles is my spiritual path, if I say the Holy Spirit is my guide, then I step back and I let it lead the way. How do I do that? I do what it says. To step back and let it lead the way is doing what it says. So what other choice is really yours to make? To let your false ideas walk ahead of the truth is madness, but to let the false ideas sink behind the truth, well, he says that lets the truth stand forth as what it is, and that's merely sanity. So what is sanity? Sanity is letting all the false ideas be behind the truth that I say is my truth now. The truth says I am spirit. The truth says I am innocent. The truth says I am seeing the reflection of my own thoughts. The truth says I have help. The truth says I have guidance. So what I'm doing is when something comes up in my experience, I like a lot of people used to have that necklace that says, what would Jesus do? It's like now I do that relative to what the Course says. Or I say, what would the Course say I should do in this situation? What would the Course tell me? I'm mad right now. What would the Course tell me to do? Well, the Course would tell me to remind myself that I need to say, let miracles replace all grievances. It would tell me that I'm only seeing the past. It would tell me that I'm looking at a call for love. It would tell me that, Earl, if you're angry, it's because somebody's not acting out your script and you're just trying to make them feel guilty so they'll do what you want them to do. Earl, you're mad because you're a control freak and you've decided how everybody should behave and how they should act and what they should do, and they're not doing it the way you want them to do it, and so you are mad. So right now, you got a deep call for love. You need help. You need to ask for another way to look at it. That's what I do. But I wouldn't know to say that to myself if I hadn't studied the Course, which taught me to say that. Okay, so then it says, this is a simple choice we make today. What is that? Well, now, he says this mad illusion that you're looking at, this insanity that you're looking at, will remain a while in evidence for those to look at who chose to come, but haven't yet rejoiced to find that they were mistaken in their choice. Okay, so anybody that's still here, but they're not glad to realize they've been making a mistake about how they're looking at everything, he says, your illusion will stay a while. In other words, if I'm going through a lot of pain, and I'm going through a lot of upset, but I am not happy to realize that the reason why I'm going through this is because I'm the one that's making the mistake in how I'm seeing things. He said, well, it's going to stay there for a while. Okay? Then he says, a person who is not willing to admit that they're the one that's making the mistake if they're unhappy, he says they can't learn directly from the truth because they decide to deny the truth. So if I'm not going to say I'm responsible for how I'm seeing things, I'm denying the truth, well then I'm not happy to find out I'm the one that's making the mistake, and so I can't learn from the truth. If the truth is telling me I'm the one that's giving it all the meaning that it has for me, but I'm not willing to use that perspective, well obviously I'm not going to learn directly from the truth. And so people who are not ready to learn directly from the truth, they want to be right more than they want to be happy. He said those people need a teacher. I need a teacher. Now, what would a Holy Spirit teacher be? If you were going to be a teacher of God, a teacher of truth, the next line tells you exactly what you would be like. You would be somebody that saw the person's madness You saw their insanity. You saw their craziness. You saw that they thought they were a victim of everything that's happening to them, and they're blaming everything that's going on in their life on somebody else. He said a teacher would be somebody who saw their madness, but could look past their madness to the truth that's in them. So even though you're upset, as your teacher, I'm going to look past your upset to the truth in you, which is that you are an invincible, loving, lovable creation of God who's creating your reality, and that you're not the victim of anything, even if you think you are. I'm going to remember the truth for you while you're crazy as hell. And that's what the Holy Spirit is. The part of us that recognizes our insanity, but also knows we're not the insanity we believe in. Okay? Then what does that mean? Well, it means that if the truth demanded that you make a person who's not ready for the truth yet give up the world, it's going to look to that person that's not ready to give up their illusions yet as if you are asking them to make a sacrifice of something that's real. So every time you tell them that they're not a victim, it's like to them you're asking them to sacrifice something that they believe is real, and they get upset with you. Yes, I am a victim. My daddy did do that to me, and you bet not say he didn't. See, it looks like I'm asking them to sacrifice a point of view that they don't want to give up yet, that they think is real. Because don't forget that the Course in Miracles is always talking about perception. Even though you can apply the Course in Miracles to anything, the Course in Miracles book itself is talking about, it's only talking about perception. The Course in Miracles teaches that the only thing that needs to be corrected is your perception. The only thing that needs to be corrected is your perception. The only thing that needs to be corrected is if you got a money problem, he says don't ask for the money, ask for the correct perception of money. You got a problem with your body and your health, he said don't ask God to heal your liver. Say, God, give me the correct perception of a liver. Because it's my perception that's creating my reality, so I need to have a new perception to have a new reality. Are you with me? So as soon as you say, God help me with the symptom, you are forgetting what caused it is the way you're seeing things. So you ask for correction of perception, and to ask for the correction of perception means to ask for a new interpretation of it. So when you say I want a new perception, you're saying give me a new interpretation. Give me another way to look at it. Okay, so many have chosen to renounce the world while still believing in its reality. What does he mean by that? These are people that have suffered from a sense of loss. They haven't been released accordingly, because there are people in the Course, for instance, people in the truth, that say, this is an illusion, this is not real, but at the same time, they'll tell you all the worries they have about everything that they're dealing with in their life right now. You'll meet a lot of truth students that will say, oh, this is an illusion, this isn't real, but dog, I hope I can get a raise because I hope that I don't get laid off. I hope the economy lets my business still stay in business. In other words, I'm saying it's an illusion, but I'm still treating it like it's real. I'm saying I forgive you, but I still am focused on what I think you did to me. That's the same kind of thing. I'm going to forgive you for what you really did to me. It's the same. That's the same thought. You know, there are a lot of people that say they're forgiving, but they say, I forgive it, but I won't forget it. Then you haven't forgiven. Okay? And so the Course then says, when you feel that way, you suffer a sense of loss. When you keep saying it's not real, but then you're still going through a million changes about it, it says you suffer from a sense of loss and haven't been released accordingly. It says then there's another group of people. The other group of people are the people who don't choose anything but the world. And if you say there's anything but the world and what the world teaches and what the world values, they say you are nuts. I've never met any of those people. He says, but these people are unhappy. They have suffered from a sense of loss still deeper, but they're also suffering from a sense of loss they don't understand. These are people that they look like, it's happening a lot in our society right now. People who did everything right, but they broke. They went to school, they went to college, they got their degree, they can't find a job. They still had to live with their parents. You know, or the people who believe if I had $1 million, it would solve all of my problems. That's another example. People who choose nothing but the outer world and the outer world values. He said these people suffer from a sense of loss they don't understand. Okay, then he says, now between these paths, there's another one. Great. He says there's another road. What? Yeah, what kind of road? Well, a road that leads away from loss of every kind. You mean I can be on a path that leads me away from any kind of losing? Yes. As a matter of fact, it's going to be a road that sacrifice and deprivation are both left quickly behind. You're going to stop sacrificing and you're going to stop lacking quickly. It's another road. And he says, this is the way appointed for you now. Yay! All right, this is the path that's made for us. Now, this is the plan. Now, you're going to walk this path as others walk in immaculate fashion style. Because that's the way y'all roll. Okay, so you're going to walk this path as others walk. You're not, he says, nor do you seem to be distinct from them, although you are. So he said, notice the Spirit is saying again that if you're really walking on the path the Spirit wants you to walk on, you don't seem to be distinct from everybody else. You're not sticking out from everybody else. And he says, thus, I love this, he says, thus can you serve them while you're serving yourself. Oh, you mean I can serve myself and be serving you? That I like that. I like that. Then it says, what does that mean? These are people that set their footsteps on the way that God has opened up to you and them through you. So I'm learning how to express love and see you as a call for love and see you as part of myself, right? And so I'm setting, these are people that set their footsteps on the way that God has opened up to you and them through you. So you become a living example of what is being talked about right now. Now, this is important. The illusion is going to still seem to cling to you. All the false ideas of the world, I mean, you're still going to look like everybody else. You're going to be driving a car, you're going to have an apartment, you're going to have a house, you're going to have a 300 credit score. And I don't understand my credit score. I don't understand my credit score. It's like, you know, it's like really high. And I just hope they don't catch up with me. That's how I know God is real. I got a high credit score. It's ridiculously high. I look at it, I go, no. The thing I love about the Course in Miracles is that it tells you that when you're on the path that God puts you on, it transcends the laws and rules of the world, and that they don't apply to you anymore, and you start to experience things that doesn't even seem possible to somebody who's totally addicted to what the world teaches. That's why I study this so much, because I've seen that to be true so many times in the last 35 years that I've experienced stuff that there's no other way to explain it other than divine intervention. There's no other way I can explain it other than divine intervention. It says some things are going to happen to you that are so incredible that your ego can't take credit for it. It's just too much for you to even begin to act like it was you that did it. And there's so much that happens to me that's like that now that I go, okay, no, there's no way that I got this credit score. Okay, so it says, yet it says, illusion will still appear to cling to you, which another way you could say it is your ego will still seem to cling to you, but you have reached them, and yet it has stepped back, and so therefore it's not going to be illusion that they hear you speak about, and it's not going to be illusions that you bring to their eyes to look upon or their minds to grasp. And nor can the truth which walks ahead of you speak to them through illusions, because the road you're on leads past illusion. And what is an illusion? It's a false idea. So wherever you see illusion, just put false idea, and it won't sound so abstract. Let me show you what I mean. False ideas still appear to cling to you. Now, what would a false idea that appeared to cling to me be? The false idea that I look like I'm a body named Earl Purdy, and that's what you think I am. That's the false idea that still appears to cling to me. My body still appears to cling to me. You still think I'm just a body. I still think you're just a body, and we don't realize we're more than bodies and that we're spiritual beings. So that's the illusion. See, the illusion that still clings to all of us, if we be honest, is that you're probably sitting there thinking you're a man or a woman. That's a big illusion that's still clinging to you. That you think you're a man or you think you're a woman. And there's a whole world that goes with that perception of yourself, which is all the things that men have to go through and all the things that look like women have to go through. That's all coming from the belief that your gender identity is your ultimate identity. So any awakening being knows that their gender identity is just one way they're choosing to express themselves. It's not the center of who they really are. So I'm playing like I'm a man, and I'm looking like I'm a man still, but I stopped looking at myself as if I was a man years ago. I've been studying this 35 years. It's always funny because people will tell me stuff like, I've been studying the Course in Miracles sincerely now for 6 months, and my life has changed unbelievably. The way that I look at things have changed unbelievably. And I always say, how do you think I see things 35 years later? And I've been teaching it every week. I appear the way that I am to you because it's the best way I can appear to you that wouldn't scare the hell out of you. And I do a pretty good job of scaring the hell out of you anyway. I'm not even trying. If I really reveal to you how I see things, you'd either go, wow, that's awesome, or I'm never coming back. This guy's a nut. Really. So you always communicate to people on the way that you can communicate with them that will not increase their fear. That's the most important level to communicate. It doesn't do any good for you to be telling people your metaphysical spiritual truth and all they're doing is getting more and more upset with you and more afraid of you by the minute. That's your ego. You would be over there talking to your aunt about knitting if that's what your aunt really loved to do. You wouldn't be talking to your aunt about you're not a body, you're free. You're not your knitting, you're free. You know what I'm saying? So you can always tell when it's your ego in charge, even with spiritual things, because if your ego is in charge, you're frightening everybody around you. And you'll say, well, I'm just going to tell the truth. I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. I'm not going to change who I am. I don't care what they're thinking about. Okay, if that's true, then you should be on a level of consciousness that you can take whatever reaction they have and still be loving and not get upset and not feel afraid. If you can't, if you're at all attached to how they react to what you're saying, then you need to be quiet. So most of the people who say stuff like that, they also got a script for how the people should react to them that they're talking to. Which is, my family should be responding to me because, yeah, I got my right to live my way, just like they got their right to live their way. Okay, their way is to think you're a nut. So they got a right to think you're a nut. So don't be getting upset with them. That's their right. If you said you're going to give them their rights, you want the same freedom for yourself as you want for them. You want to be able to express yourself freely without them getting upset with you. Well, then let them express themselves freely without you getting upset with them. And that might be, Earl, I think you're certifiable. But you get to a point, if you don't attack everybody, your family will back off if you stay loving. I remember I did a fire walk back in Memphis, and I didn't even expect to do the fire walk. I went there, some friends told me, we're going to do this thing tonight, and would you like to come down? And I go down there, and they building a fire and raking the coals. And it's a real fire because I saw them build it. It's not a fake fire. Okay, I saw the fire. Okay. And they did a workshop, and then they did the fire walk. And then I went, okay, one thing about seeing equals do something, like your friends, is that immediately there's some part of you that thinks if they can do it, I can do it. That's why you want to do things with people like you, right? So they walked, and for some reason, and there was a guy from the newspaper, the main newspaper in town. He was a reporter. Of course, he thought we were insane, so he was there to report our insanity. And so he was watching everything, and I said, well, I saw my partner, not my romantic partner, but my teaching partner, because I had a spiritual center in Memphis, and I saw her do it. So I went, whoa. Okay, something told me I had to do it. I don't know what it was. Something within me said, go walk the hot coals. So next thing I know, I'm walking the hot coals. And I walked the hot coals, and it felt like I was walking on the carpet barefooted. And then I could not believe I'd done it. And then I went back, and I walked it again. And then I went back, and I moonwalked. I did the hot coals backwards, you know. And then did you know what happened? What? I was still worried about my credit card bill. Think about that. I had justified the laws of time, space, and physics, and the first thing that came up was, how do I pay my bills? It's really amazing how, in the end, you can do miraculous things that prove that it's not what you think it is, and your ego can be so big that it tries to blot out what you just did, the possibilities of your mind, and focus on something that'll make you feel afraid and make you feel separate. So the next morning, I opened up the newspaper. This is the big Sunday paper, and there I am on the front page walking fire. Okay, I'm on the front page of this section of the newspaper. I go over my family's house, and they didn't act like I had done anything. They were so used to me doing things and being out of the box and trying new things and all that. To them it was just, oh, this is another thing he's doing. Because I didn't ever attack them, but I did my thing. So they got to the point. See, I love it when people say to me, oh, that Earl Purdy, he might say anything. Oh, you're the Earl Purdy's class, he might do anything. See, I'm free. Mm-hmm. See, I'm free as a teacher when people say, oh, you go to Earl's class, he might do anything. For some people, that's going to be off-putting. But for a lot of people, but for me, I'm free. Because if somebody tell you that you go to a class and the person might do anything, you're more open-minded to whatever they do. Mm-hmm. But if you come to the class and you got a real strong perception of what you think is proper and what should happen and what shouldn't happen, and then the person acts out of the box, it freaks you out. And that's why I tell people there's nothing more important than being your authentic self, but being your authentic self in love and peace. And the most important thing is to support other people being their authentic self, because your outer reality is going to reflect your consciousness. And so if you are being supportive and okay about other people expressing themselves, then you're creating a consciousness that you'll be surrounded by people who are okay when you express yourself. That's not the way the average person does it. The average person wants to receive what they're not giving all the time. The person who never gives money expects to become wealthy. The person that never gives love expects to meet the most loving person they've ever met. The person that limits everybody is expecting to meet people that free them. We have a tendency to expect people to come into our lives with characteristics that we aren't exemplifying. Mm-hmm. I see it all the time. All the time. The person who's complaining that they're the most broke is the person that's the stingiest, even if they see it as being legitimate as to why. You know, the person who says they want love would be the person that's quiet and doesn't extend and doesn't speak to anybody. But they'll wonder why nobody's inviting them out to lunch. They're not inviting you out to lunch because you're not inviting anybody out to lunch. How to guarantee you go to lunch with somebody? You ask them and they say yes. But that's not how I used to do it. I'd sit back and wait for somebody to want to walk up to me and ask me out, and if they didn't, I said, that group wasn't friendly. The group wasn't friendly? You weren't friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the one that, you didn't say anything to anybody, did you? No. It's funny, like when you study the course after a while, you see, all you feel is, instead of wanting to forgive people, all you want to do is ask people to forgive you. Because you realize you the one that was creating all the stuff you were going through. Nobody was doing anything to you. It was a reflection of your own consciousness. Okay, he says, nor can the truth which walks ahead of you speak to them through illusions, for the road leads past illusions or false ideas now, while on the way you call to them that they may follow you. So all roads will lead to this road in the end. What road? The road that's going to lead past all sacrifice and all deprivation. Everybody's going to eventually get home. Everybody's going to eventually get to love. Everybody's going to eventually get to the truth. But you can decide to go, you can decide to go the expressway, or you can decide to go the back road, but you're going to get there. Some people are doing the back road. We are saying, give me the expressway. As a matter of fact, we are saying, helicopter, come pick me up.
Yeah.
We've even doing it better than that. It's like my friends are rock climbing, I'm going, helicopter, lift me up to the top of the building. I'll be up there waiting for you when you get there. We end up in the same place, but it was infinitely easier the way that I did it. So everybody and this is going to make some people mad, everybody's going to make it back to God, to the realization of love. Everybody, even the most dastardly, evil, bad, everybody in ISIS is going to make it back to the realization that they're in truth.
Yay!
Good. Everybody is, because everybody's doing the same thing, making mistakes about who they think they are and acting from fear. Some people just do it in a more extreme manner than others. Okay. All right, so all roads will lead to this one in the end, for sacrifice and deprivation are paths that lead nowhere. I like that idea that if you're a person who likes to sacrifice and deprive yourself, actually you are making a choice for defeat, an aim that will remain impossible. All this steps back as the truth comes forth. So what is that saying? It's saying to you that all of the things that bother you will step back as you let the truth come forth. The more you practice the truth, for real, deprivation and lack in any form will step back. And why? Because how are you going to lead other people if you're not exemplifying the thing that you're trying to lead them to? So you're leading your brothers away from the ways of death, and you're setting them on the road to happiness, because you're setting them on the road to happiness when you are no longer allowing yourself to be on the road of deprivation and sacrifice. So you owe it to everybody around you to let yourself be abundant and happy. Then it says their suffering is but an illusion. Your suffering is based on a false idea. Your suffering is based on false ideas that you're giving yourself. So that's what it means when it says your suffering is just an illusion. Yet, you need a guide to lead you out of it. Everybody needs a guide to lead them out of it. Now, when the truth starts to really come in and you begin to hear it because it's so opposite from what you believe and what your own ego is trying to do to you, you're going to start feeling sleepy. You're going to sit up here and all of a sudden you're going to find you're yawning your little can off. And it's okay. He says that's exactly what you're going to do. Why? Because the part of you that wants you to stay the way you've always been, the only way it can stay in charge is to make you go unconscious on the things that would free you. So I don't get insulted when people fall asleep the way I would early in my teaching career, because I know that's the way that you respond to the truth at first when you're still determined to suffer in some way. So you need to be loved even though you're still determined to suffer. Because what's going to happen one day, like when I read this, I don't know what your experience of it is, but as I hear it, it inspires me. It energizes me. It excites me. It doesn't make me go, oh my God, how much longer this man got us going to be speaking before I can get out of this room. You know what I mean? What part of you wouldn't be excited to hear that you could be on a path of no deprivation and lack, and that there's a way for you to be on that path, except the part of you that doesn't want you to have abundance? That's the only part of you could possibly be bored. It would be the part that still wanted you to suffer, right? So, such is the call of salvation and nothing more. It asks what? Number one, that you accept the truth. He says, then after you accept the truth, you let the truth go before you, lighting up the path from ransom and from your illusions. It also says it doesn't cost you anything. Nothing that I'm telling you to do costs you anything. There is no cost to you. If you do that, let the truth step before you. He said there's only gain. He said your false ideas can only seem to hold you in chains. I love that. You're already free with imaginary chains that you're using to limit yourself. But they're all imaginary. Now, what do I mean by that? If the only thing that's limiting you is your ideas, and then your ideas are producing the physical limitation you're going through, then all of your limitations are imaginary. They are limitations that you are imagining and giving faith to, and therefore giving faith to those limitations. You are perceiving those limitations. You are creating those limitations. You are now living those limitations. So if you want to change the movie on the screen, you got to change the film in the projector. Changing screens won't change the movie. Seeing the movie Selma at the Denver Pavilions will show you the same movie as you go to the Colorado 9. Why? It's the same movie. So why are you having the same experience in this relationship as you had with the other relationship? One screen was named Bob and the other screen is named Joe. But you are projecting the exact same horror movie. And some people in New Thought say, I would never go see a horror movie. I go, have you seen your love life lately? It's the most frightening thing I've ever seen. That last dude was positively terrified. I know, let me go get another screen. No, baby, you need another movie. So I'm gonna go, it's like when people want another job, but I don't hear them say their consciousness created the job that they had, then I know that even if they get another job and I talk to them 6 months later, they're going to be just as unhappy about the new job as they were about the old one, because it didn't change their mind. So you can get 100 different relationships. If you still think it's the other person's fault, you're going to have the same movie. All right? In IMAX 3D. You notice that it gets, each time it gets even more intense, right? So, this is so true. It's so true. He says, illusion can but seem to hold in chains the Holy Son of God, but it's from illusions that you're being saved. So what are you being saved from? You're being saved from false ideas. And as you let the false ideas you have step back, he says, then you find yourself again. Now, walk safely now, yet carefully. Okay, here's the instructions. Okay, gang, we're going on this journey. I want you all to walk safely now, but I also want you to walk carefully. Why? Because this path is new to you. You don't know how to be sane. You're new at it. So we got to be careful, because we don't know how to be sane. Okay, all right. So he says, and you may find that you are tempted to do what? Still to walk ahead of God, to walk ahead of the truth, to take over again. So that's what it means when it says you need to be careful, because you're going to have the temptation to take over again, and you think you're in charge, and you think it's about what you want the way you want it. And he says, now, that simply means you're going to be tempted to let illusions be your guide. You're going to be tempted to let the false ideas that you've learned in the past take over again. There's only one false idea that you have to worry about: the idea that you are a victim. That's it. It takes a million different forms, but the only temptation will be for you to again talk like something is happening to you that has no connection to your own mind. Got it? So let's keep it simple. It's not, oh, okay, I gotta be careful not to tell myself again the stuff I used to tell myself about my mama. Or I need to be careful again not to tell myself the stuff I used to say about money. You can do that, or you could say, I got to be careful again to not see myself as a victim of anything that's happening to me. That's all you have to do. Okay? And then it says, your holy brothers have been given you, okay, I've been wanting to know why y'all around, to follow in your footsteps as you walk with certainty of purpose to the truth. So the truth is going to go before you now. You claiming now that you know the truth. You're not a victim. You're a beautiful person. You're connected to God. You're not the one that's a victim of the world you see. He says that it's going to go before you now, that they may see something with which they can identify with, something that they understand to lead the way. So what will start happening is that people will start saying, you know, I notice you don't handle things the way other people handle it. I notice you kind of keep your peace more than other people. I've been checking out how you seem to handle what goes on. You see what I'm saying? They'll start noticing something about you is very different from them. Now, they won't want to hang out with you. So don't think studying this is going to make you more popular. Actually, most of the people you know are going to disappear. I'll say it again. Most of the people you know are going to disappear when you get serious about being happy, because they're not serious about being happy yet. And until they get serious about being happy, they're going to get away from you. You don't have to put anybody out your life. They'll go. Because they want to be miserable, and you're doing something that doesn't produce misery. So hear what I'm saying. People who are not ready to be happy yet don't like to be around people who are being sane and happy, especially their friends, because there's no excuse when it's the people that you know are your equals that are making a change. Then there's no excuse for you not doing it. It's easy to go, well, you know, Jesus go walk wild. I certainly can't do that. You know, I do it every day. When I walk on a puddle, on the sidewalk, I walk water. But that's a whole different thing. We'll talk about that later. So the point that I'm making is the people who are not ready to stop suffering will fade out of your life. The people who are ready to be happy will start to be attracted into your life, because you are both sharing a common goal. If that is not happening, if that's not happening for you, you're not 100% living it and sincere yet. So if it looks like you want to be Mr. Spiritual or Miss Spiritual, but you're still surrounded by unconscious people that are attacking you, they're trying to get you to see you're not as conscious as you think you are. You still have grievances and upsets, and you're still seeing yourself as a victim, and they're showing up to let you know you still have some of these old thoughts. That's why they're still hanging around, so that you won't fool yourself. God, I can safely believe I have on a red top if I look in the mirror and I see a red top. That's how I know for sure. Because I can't, you ever thought about how little you see yourself, your own face, your own body? I've seen your body and your faces more during this class than you have seen it maybe in the last 6 months. Isn't that interesting? So that means that when you're looking out, you don't realize you're looking in a mirror. Just like when you look in the mirror, that's how you can tell how you look, right? Well, you're looking in a mirror now. I am you. These people are you. Everything is you. The mirror is much bigger than you think. You are more than you think you are. So you don't realize I'm your mirror too. The Course in Miracles says when you have thoughts that you are not ready to own, the people in your life carry your thoughts around for you. So I'm not willing to see I'm jealous, right? So I'll say, oh, you're in my life and you're a jealous girlfriend. But see, that's my jealousy that I don't want to own. She's being beautiful enough to carry my jealousy around for me. Earl, this is your jealousy. Right here, buddy. You know, so don't say you don't have a jealous thought. You do, because you're into me and I'm jealous. Ladies getting restless. I better get me a cage in front of me right there. I can kind of see a little grumbling going on around. Because see, I'm nice. I'm too nice. I'm very nice. Everything about me is nice. So, you know, I certainly couldn't have any of the qualities of anybody that's around me that's not being nice, because I'm the one that's nice. But if I'm everyone, then I'm looking at my own qualities by definition. If we're one, now if we're separate, then no. But if we're one, then I'm only looking at my own characteristics everywhere I look, because I am you and you are me. This book says stuff like that. Now you see why it's hard for people to read it? You got to get so deep out of denial to study the Course in Miracles that most people can't do it, because the only reason they're happy is because they're in denial. Take the denial away, they wouldn't feel good about themselves at all. They think they're nice people because they're in denial about how much they're not as loving as they think they are. And they don't want to know that they have a lot of grievances. They want to believe I'm a real nice person that other people are doing stuff to all the time. Even though I'm so nice, everybody's mistreating me, but I'm the nicest. I wouldn't hurt a fly. As you look at all the flies you kill. So don't tell that lie you would hurt a fly. You hurt many flies. As a matter of fact, they plotting up on you right now. They can't wait to get you somewhere. They can get you. You're coming back as a fly. Rain! So you better evolve so you will come back as no fly. Okay? And you're in trouble. Imagine what you must have been to come back as a chicken. You know what I'm saying? Chickens have a rough life, baby. You know what I'm saying? Chickens must have done something. It must have done something. You know, and a cow, you got to be really powerful to be a cow, right? You know, think about what happens with cows, unless you're in India. So the cows that were not violent, they reincarnated in India. The cows that raise hell, they at McDonald's. But according to popular lore, you don't reincarnate on a lower level of consciousness than what you were before. That's, I mean, you know, I've never been walking down the street in an amoeba going, "Come here, boy, give me all the money, give me all the money." I've never seen an amoeba do that. Have you ever seen, you know, I'm walking down the street and a robin say, "Hey, man, come on, we'll take money right now." So again, I'm just throwing these kind of thoughts out here, not that you have to believe it, but just to think about it. You know, it seems to me that things are just the opposite of the way we think they are. So we are trying to evolve, right? Okay, so I'm going to stop here, and we're going to go through this section. Is a powerful section about how, can you hear what we said today, all the things that we've heard about how to move forth in the world with the truth? This is a deep section. It's going to get even more deep. So I don't want to rush through it. I want to complete it. So let's acknowledge us for hearing this much of this section right here. Tell when the spirit's on the road because my camera always reflects it back to me in some way. That's when it'll go out ahead of time or something. It's like the ego go, hell no. No, you will not share this with the world. You know, it's like I had a 3,000 people increase in viewership in the last month. You know, people are responding and communicating with me in a way that's blowing my mind right now. in terms of the appreciation of what the Holy Spirit is doing through me. It ain't about what Earl's doing. You know, and so it's funny to think that even without, I didn't promote myself to do that. I just said, I want to record my classes and put them on YouTube. That's it. You know, and so what I'm saying is, if you're fulfilling your function, the promise is that Spirit will take care of the legwork for you. And that's what we don't realize. We need to step back and let God lead the way instead of us thinking that it's up to us to do it through our own wits. So many people on the spiritual path, and hopefully you're not one of those people, they go to workshops, they go to classes, constantly different workshops, different classes, getting additional information so that they think it will make them better at handling everything on their own. They're not actually coming to the class to get in touch with their spiritual guidance. They're just trying to expand on the idea of still being autonomous and handling everything on their own. They're just trying to handle it on their own better by getting more information. That's not spiritual growth. That's the ego. If you're doing this just so you can be smarter, then you're still being ruled by your ego. If you're doing this so that you can let God, the higher power, begin to function more in you and in your life, now you're about spiritual awareness. Spiritual awareness is about joining. Ego awareness is about how much more can I do as an autonomous, self-sufficient being on my own. That's ego. And bless our hearts, men really are challenged because there's so much in the man role that you are taught it's about you handling everything on your own, and if you don't do it all on your own, you're not really a man. So I thank y'all for sharing with me. This is what I do full time in the world. And I have the same responsibilities in the world that any of you have. And I appreciate that. I believe I'm sustained by the love of God, and I'm totally willing to receive from people who feel some gratitude about what I'm sharing. And those of you who tell yourself you don't have anything to give, that's not true. You need to stop telling yourself that. That whether you ever give to me or not, stop telling yourself that. That's not true. It's a way to perpetuate your lack. So I'm not trying to get you to give anything to me that you don't want to give. But stop convincing yourself that you're broke and you're poor and you don't have nothing. That's why I never look at the bag when it goes around, because it's not about what you're giving to me, but it is about at what point are you willing to practice any of the principles that you're hearing so that you can get the result and the reward for yourself. Because I'm going to be provided for because I believe I'm sustained by God. You know, and I'm just saying that you have an abundance that's available to you that you can only tap into by letting go of all the ideas of deprivation and sacrifice. You do not deserve to suffer. You do not deserve to have lack. And don't buy into what we learned as children, many of us, about it's easier for the rich man. You know, it's hard for a rich man to get through a hive. What is something about the eye of a needle? You know, to go through an eye. It's easier to go through an eye of a needle or something than a rich man. You know, poor folk made that stuff up. Poor folk made that stuff up about, you know, it's because if you're poor and you're broke and you're not letting yourself have what you deserve, it would make, if you're lazy and you don't really want to change to something better, wouldn't it be easier just to come up with a whole philosophy or doctrine that said it was spiritual and fine just to be the way you already are? It's like the lazy man's way. You know, if I believe that lack is my natural state and I've been programmed for poverty, and it's going to make sense then that I would tell myself that poverty was the highest thing that you could give yourself. And people who have a lot of wealth, they're telling themselves, some of them, that their wealth is a sign of God's grace. And it means that they must be really spiritual. Why? Because I have plenty of money. God is blessing me. Then the poor person goes, well, I'm blessed by God because I don't have any, because it's poor people that God loves. Well, you know, look at Jesus. You know, he came in on a donkey. You know, I think it's interesting that we have a culture that the main spiritual figure is Jesus, who came in on a donkey, but it's the most materialistic country in the world. Think about it. And then in the East, where there's a lot of poverty, like in India, all of their gods have jewels. You look at Indian gods, they like they went to Tiffany's. You know, they got so many diamonds and rubies. Y'all familiar? All of them.
Yeah.
So think about the culture that everybody's poor. Their central gods are notoriously materialistic. And here we are, notoriously materialistic, but we say we worship the God that came in on a donkey. And ain't nobody in here that's going to want to ride a donkey home. We want a Lexus. You know, so don't you see the hilarity of it all? Don't y'all see how insane it all is? It's not hidden. The insanity is not hidden. It's very obvious. And Spirit is telling us, all you have to do is recognize the truth, let the truth lead the way. The people who don't feel like you and don't believe like you, they're going to think they're like you, so they're not going to mess with you. The people who know you on another level of consciousness, y'all are going to recognize each other, and then you will join and support each other, and you'll have a lot of peace whether you're around people that believe like you do or not. It's not complicated. If there's a lot of conflict going on, I'm trying to punish myself. You all deserve to be happy. So anybody watching this and you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and I'm available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions, where, and those of you who've had clarity sessions and you still are suffering, listen to your session again. Because people don't listen to their sessions when they're suffering like they should. Because your ego doesn't want you to hear what would get you out of the suffering, because the suffering is what makes you think you're separate from God, which is the ego game, to make us think we're separate from our source, and conflict is a way to make you think you're separate from love and your source. So you need your learnings and your clarity sessions and your book the most when you're most upset, which is when you're least inclined to do it. It's when you're most upset. So now I go, Earl, you're upset. Go straight to the course. And I'll take my butt to that park when I have some real challenge coming up, and I will not leave that park until I feel better. So if that means reading 5 chapters before I go, then I'll read 5 chapters. You know, because that's how you scare your ego off. If your ego ever gets, the part of you that wants you to suffer, that's what I mean by your ego, if it ever gets that every time you are suffering, you're going to go to the truth, and you're sincere about going to the truth, then that part of your mind will begin to back off. If it's not backing off, it's because you're still siding with your ego, whether you're saying you are or not. How do you know that? I'm glad you'd ask. The way that you know it is by how you feel. You always know when you're listening to your ego by how you feel. So if you feel anything other than peace, you're listening to your ego. So therefore you need to say, I'm misperceiving this whole situation. I need another way to look at it, because if I was looking at it correctly, I would feel peace. I am not feeling conflict and seeing anything correctly. Not even death. That's just really deep. That if you were even seeing death correctly, you wouldn't get upset about death. Yours or anybody else's. That's playing really big. So let's start with a parking space. If somebody take your parking space, like what happened to me, I was just getting ready to go in the car, shoot, and went right into my space. And then I said everything I could think of to call him anything but a child of God. And because the Course has taught me, the Way of Master has taught me that all my feelings are innocent, and I should not repress what I'm feeling in the moment on behalf of trying to be spiritual. So I let my ego thoughts come up. Then the next thing it told me was to remind myself that I'm giving it all the meaning that it has for me. Then it told me to tell myself that I'm grateful that I have the ability to choose how I'm going to see things. And then to say I'm still as God created me, no matter what I'm saying or no matter what I'm doing, I'm still that innocent love being of God. So I'm not, so I expected him, he said the guy moved into the parking space. Maybe some of you expected me to go, he went into my parking space, and I went, oh, it's just a clone for love. No, I felt my temptation to kill. I felt my temptation to attack. I felt murderous thoughts come up. And then I said, well, I have a little while to go yet. Then people say to me, well, if you've been studying 35 years and you still get upset about somebody going into your apartment space, then what hope is there for me? That's just a trick to keep a person. That's just a trick to keep the person from doing it. That's their little escape way. It's like I could just say, well, Earl hasn't still gets upset and he's been studying. Then what hope is the course doesn't work. Yes, the course does work, because you don't know how I would have responded 35 years ago. It does work, and it worked because I was willing to go through that process and not condemn and judge myself. That's how I know it's working. Because he really didn't do anything to me. I attacked myself about him moving into the parking space. Because I was the one feeling that anger. Obviously, he wasn't. You see what I'm saying? So you're doing a lot better than you could ever imagine. You've grown more than you could ever realize. Be grateful to yourself. You're doing great. Stop being so hard on yourself. The mere fact that you're sitting here today means that you are loving yourself more than ever before. Just get to the point that your spiritual path is not a hobby. That it has priority. That it's not the thing you do after you've taken care of everything else. Oh, I'm going to get to my classes and I'm going to get to my studying after I take care of this and this and this and this. If you put your spiritual path first, you wouldn't have that this and this and this to handle that's bothering you. So I want you to be happy. I love you. And this is a deep section, so lesson 155. Okay, I love you. Tuesday night, Way of Mastery, 7 o'clock. And remember, what love has joined together, let no man take it apart. Is that right? All right, I love you. Thank you for coming.